Hey y'all, welcome. My name is Jessica and I'm with Violet Crown Yoga, which is based in Austin, Texas. And if you're new to practicing with me, my pronouns are she and her. And this is the second episode of my Yoga in the Dark series. So, in case this is new to you, if you didn't take the first episode, this is a class designed for people who are visually and hearing impaired. So what that means is that I'll use my language to guide you through the practice. You don't actually have to see me. And if you have a hearing impairment, I'll have subtitles available so you can read along as we practice. And it's also beneficial for anyone who's practicing with a small phone screen and you have a hard time seeing what's going on. So, I welcome donations for this series, so I have a suggested sliding scale donation that starts at just a donation of loving kindness. So if you're financially strapped, I welcome your loving kindness, thoughts of loving kindness. And then the sliding scale for cash donations are $5, $10, or $15 per class. And you can donate this one time and then practice this class as many times as you'd like. And then I'd love for you to share this with anyone who may benefit. So the donation options, you can find a link beneath the video posted on YouTube. If you follow me on Facebook or you can also go to my website, which is violetcrownyoga.com, to find some ways to donate. And then I welcome any feedback. And then, as usual, I'm in a house with 3 children, and I set a timer and told them not to knock on the door. We may have interruptions though, and I can hear them outside this window right now. So I hope that won't be too distracting. So the practice today is we'll work on balancing. So balancing can be challenging at times. Our sense of balance changes every day. It changes throughout the day. Sometimes it depends on the weather, barometric pressure changes affect balance, allergies affect balance, how much sleep you get affects balance. And it's an easy way to judge ourselves as we practice, but it's really more of a marker of self-study. So just recognizing where you are in that moment, rather than saying, I couldn't balance or I kept falling out of the balance, and that means that I suck at my practice. And that's not the case at all. It really is a way to explore and just watch yourself and how your balance changes as your practice evolves, as you may get better at balance as you practice, but at the same time you'll still have those days where you feel somewhat off and you're out of balance. And I like to think of that as a measurement to recognize where you need to be tender with yourself and to learn little tools to bring yourself back into balance. So it's not all about standing on one foot, doing something really complicated with your other foot, touching your head, which I can't even do. You can do breathing practices, and you can do simple things on the ground or working with both feet to bring balance. And one of the other things that balancing does is it makes it hard to focus on anything outside of your body when you're working on balance, physical balance within your body. So it helps bring you into focus, or bring a sense of focus into your life, into your present state. Balancing is one of my favorites. I know not all of my students love balancing because they do find it challenging, but again, it's okay. Do not judge yourself. Allow it to be a space where you can find compassion for your present state, whatever that may be. So for this practice, we don't really need any particular props. I usually recommend at least a blanket or a towel. And then last week we worked with toilet paper rolls instead of blocks. So you can always grab toilet paper rolls and or blocks if you happen to have them. So let's get started. We'll start out in a comfortable seat. So you can sit on the ground. I typically use a blanket to give myself a little bit of lift. So I'm using a woven Mexican style blanket, and I've got it folded to where I've got maybe an inch or two of lift, but you can fold it a few more times to give yourself more lift. If you're In a seated cross-legged position, you want your knees to be level with your hips or lower. So if your hips are tight, if you sit in a chair a lot, you may find that your knees are a little bit higher than your hips or even a lot higher. Sometimes ankle tightness in your ankles can be restrictive here too. So prop yourself up a lot. Grab some pillows even. You can use those blocks to give you support underneath your blanket if you happen to have blocks. And then otherwise you can sit in a chair. You're welcome to start on your back. I'm okay with that. And then wherever you are, if you can close your eyes, you can close your eyes or take a soft gaze if that is not comfortable or doesn't serve you. That's nothing to worry about. We'll take a moment to bring our gaze inward. And then bring your gaze to that space right in between your brow. So this is your third eye, the center of intuition. Wherever you are seated, take a moment to notice your connection to the earth, whether that may be your seat or just your feet if you're seated in a chair. Notice all the points of your body that are supported here by the earth and how that connection feels. Notice the energy and the space around you. And then notice the energy in your body. You may notice that parts of your body feel warmer or cooler than the rest. You may notice that parts of your body feel achy or heavy. And then begin to bring your awareness to your breath now. Notice how your breath moves in your body. Notice the length of your inhale compared to the length of your exhale. Begin to lengthen your breath. With your inhale, find some length from tailbone all the way up through the crown of your head. So imagine that the crown of your head is growing taller, and it can actually grow taller. You can make that shift with your body. On your exhale, navel draws in toward your spine. You may even let out a sigh. Allow yourself to ground and connect to the earth. With your inhale, find some space through the sides of your rib cage and the back of your body. And use your breath now to explore your body. So coming back into those spaces you may have noticed earlier that were achy. Notice any quiet spots. Now notice your mind and what thoughts may be present. So you may come into this practice scattered or with strong emotions. And know that you don't have to be in a certain state to practice yoga. In yoga, it's about acknowledging whatever it is that is currently present and allowing that to be, and knowing that it is valid, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. And at the same time, you may also feel comfort and joy. This is space for your humanity. And then we'll take one hand, palm facing inward to your heart center. So that just means right at the center of your chest, not really right over your actual heart. The heart center in yoga is the center of your chest, your heart chakra. And then you'll take your other hand to your low belly. So both palms facing in, just resting on your body here. Notice how your hands move with your breath. We'll open this practice with a single Om. You're welcome to listen if you prefer. Know that when you sing or when you chant, every single cell in your body vibrates. We'll take a full breath together first. Let's inhale and exhale. And then we'll inhale to Om. All right. Release your hands. If your eyes are closed, you can open them. And then we'll take a moment. We'll start out on the ground first. So we'll come to hands and knees to begin. If you have sensitive knees, feel free to use your blanket or your towel to pad your knees. You'll take your big toes to touch, and then knees a little bit wider than hips distance, and start to press your hips back to your heels. Forehead and forearms rest on the ground. Coming into Balasana or Child's Pose. This is often referred to as a resting pose, and it may or may not feel that way to you. So if it feels uncomfortable, grab some props, do whatever it takes to make it sustainable for you. We'll take several rounds of breaths here. If it doesn't feel good for your knees, just come onto your belly. Let your belly rest on the ground. And you can keep arms extended forward, or you're welcome to take your hands back by your feet. So as you rest in this forward fold, take a moment, again allowing your gaze to turn inward. Know that forward folds like this are very introspective. And we'll revisit your intention. If you practiced with me last week, we set an intention for this series. If this is your first time to practice, or you're just practicing at another time in the future, make this a space for an intention to come into your practice. And sometimes that intention is obvious. Maybe you already came into it knowing what it was. Sometimes it comes to you in this moment, or sometimes for me, I come into a practice and I have a teacher suggest that I open to an intention, and I'm like, I can't think of what my intention should be. And I start to stress about it. And I've learned that I just welcome myself to find an intention throughout the practice. So it may be in this moment, you may be opening up to it, coming to you throughout practice, and that is fine. A few more big breaths here. And then final breath, you'll inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth with a big sigh. All right. Now we'll come up to hands and knees now, and then you'll make your way to your belly. We'll start with your palms stacked in front of you. Let your head rest on top of your palms. Notice how it feels to have your belly supported by the ground here. And when we practice poses that are close to the ground, or for me in particular, poses where my belly is on the ground, it's grounding. That's not surprising, right? You're right here on the ground. You're connecting to the earth. And if you do that intentionally, if you think about the fact that you are connected or that you're closer to the ground, it can really help you become aware of how grounding that is. That support that you have beneath you here of the earth. So from here on the ground, you're going to take your right arm out to the side, palm facing down. Your hand is around shoulder height, so that just means it's in line with your shoulder here, but you can move it up slightly or down slightly. For a deeper stretch, you can bend your elbows so your arm is shaped like a goalpost arm, but I will warn you that makes it much more intense. So if your shoulders are pretty flexible, it might feel good to bend it. Otherwise, you can keep your arm out to the side. You'll use your left hand to start to press your way onto your right side. So you may just roll a few inches onto your right side and keep your left leg forward on the ground or a blanket. Or you may be able to roll more onto your right hip and then plant your left foot behind your right leg with your knee pointed toward the ceiling. Your head can rest on the ground, or if your neck feels uncomfortable, you can always slide your blanket underneath your head so you have a little bit of height to help your neck be more comfortable. And we'll take several breaths here. In this shape, you may feel it in the front of your shoulder, depending on which arm is your dominant arm. You may feel it in between or behind your shoulder blade. I will tell you that it shifts for me depending on where I am in my practice. So sometimes it's more intense in the front of my arm, sometimes it's more intense behind my shoulder blade. Sometimes I feel it somewhere else. It's more of a twisting sensation. So there's no right or wrong here. But open up to whatever it is that you're experiencing and use your breath to explore. One more breath here. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. And slowly come back through center. You can restack your palms. Let your head rest on your palms. Shake your hips side to side a few times. And take a moment noticing how each side feels. Notice how that work lingers in your body. Take your left arm out to the side now. So again, it can be shoulder height. Your hand can be shoulder height, a little higher or a little lower is fine. Or you can bend your elbow for more intensity if you need to, if you want to. You'll use your right hand to press into the ground as you roll onto your left side. You may keep your right knee forward on the ground, just rolling a few inches onto your left side, or you may be able to roll enough to get your foot behind your left leg with your knee pointed toward the ceiling. And there's no right or wrong. It's finding what works for you, knowing this side may be different. It may look different than the other side. You can use support under your head if your neck is uncomfortable. Notice where sensation is and allow your breath to explore that. One more big breath here. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Slowly release. Come back through center. Stack your palms here. Let your head rest on your stacked palms. Maybe shake your hips a little bit side to side against the floor. Notice how each side feels. It's important to pause throughout your practice to come back to your breath and the feeling of the ground beneath you, and to make space to feel relief from maybe pausing in the practice or just noticing what's here, how things may have shifted, how different poses have different effects on your body and your mind. So you don't have to constantly keep moving and going. So now we'll come up to your forearms. So I want you to take your shoulders, your elbows, and line them up underneath your shoulders. So they're shoulder width distance apart. And then the tops of your feet are on the ground here, so you're coming into a little bit of a back bend heart opener. This is known as Sphinx pose. You can take your forearms a little further forward if your low back feels uncomfortable. I want you to have your elbows, they're lined up under your shoulders, but at the very least, they're just like an inch forward. You don't want to have them too far back or next to your rib cage. You want to make space here. And then use your forearms to press down and pull back a little bit, so some isometric work, lengthening your spine. I've got my palms flat, face down. You're welcome to start with palms touching or fingers interlaced even, but we'll do some different work, moving hands around in a bit. So at some point we'll take them apart. You'll pause here for a few breaths. Just let your hips really connect to the earth and let the tops of your feet ground. So notice if you have a tendency to roll in, if you're on your big toe or the inside of your foot, try to get your pinky toe to touch the ground here. And then you don't want your chin lifted too much to where you're compressing the back of your neck, and you don't want your head dropped too far forward. Try to get the neck in line with the rest of your spine. So visualize your spine. You've got this slight curve as your neck is in line with the rest of your spine. Crown of your head draws forward and up. So we'll start to press down and forward through your right forearm. You're not actually moving here, it's isometric work, but you feel this action pressing into the earth and slightly forward. And then you'll take your left toes, tuck them under. So your left leg is still on the ground here. You'll just gently press your left toes into the ground. You may stay right here. You may start to make your leg a little more active to where your left knee lifts. So you're pressing forward and down still through your right forearm, left knee lifting. Or you might lift your left foot up off the ground. Getting some work here in your low back and your glute as you press your right arm forward. This is cross body work. Right arm is grounded, left leg is lifted. And then again, it's fine to keep your toes on the ground and your knees on the ground. So any of those variations are fine. We're going to start to pulse your left leg a little bit. So lifting your heel up just a few inches. My left foot is flexed, so toes are kind of tapping the ground as I lower my leg. You're also welcome to skip this part. This is a lot of work for your glute and your hamstring. One more inhale here as you lift, and then as you exhale, we're going to stack your palms again, shake your hips side to side. Take a few breaths to feel the relief coming out of that work. Then we'll come back up to your forearms here. Again, you can adjust in any way if this is bothering your low back. If you want to take your arms a little further forward or a lot forward, you can also take your legs a little wider. And then we'll start to press down and forward with your left forearm. Feeling your connection to the earth here. And then you'll tuck your right toes under. So you may stay right here with your knee on the ground, toes tucked under, left forearm pressing down and forward. You may press your toes in the ground to where your right knee lifts, or you may lift your foot up, and it's just a few inches. So your legs extended straight back. I have my foot flexed, so my right toes are pointing down. Left forearm is pressing down and forward. So coming into this cross body work here. You can stay right here. You may start to pulse a little bit, so you're lifting your right foot off the ground a little bit and then lowering back down. Your toes may tap down as you lower. So this is just a few inches. You're getting a squeeze here and your low back, glute, hamstring is working. Whole right leg is working. And then at the same time, left forearm is pressing down and forward. So you're just moving at your own pace here. Lifting up and down, up and down. Take one more inhale as you lift, and then we'll exhale, lower. Stack your palms, shake your hips side to side. You may stay with your head resting on the ground here. If it still feels okay to come into that back bend, we're going to come back up to your forearms. This time we'll tuck both toes under. You'll press down and forward through both forearms. You may stay right here with your knees resting on the ground. You may start to draw your navel back so you can make this a little more active to where you're using your core to support yourself in this pose. And then maybe you just start to lift your knees off the ground with your toes connected, or maybe you lift both feet. It's a lot more work lifting both legs here. I'm not going to make you pulse with both legs, but just finding this work, pressing forearms forward and down, lifting your legs very gently if you want, or toes can stay down and knees can stay down. Take one more inhale here as you exhale. You're released. Shake your hips a little bit side to side. Now we'll reach back. You're going to keep your head down here. You're going to bend your right leg so foot is facing the ceiling. Reach back with your right hand. Can you grab the top of your foot? If you can't, you're just going to stay here in this reach. So keep your head, your forehead can rest on your left palm, palm facing down, so it would be the back of your left hand. You might just reach for your right foot. knowing that this is work right here, doing this reach, or you can reach your ankle or the front of your foot. And then you're going to draw if you can reach your foot, you're going to pull your heel toward your glutes. And it may come close, it may not. Maybe you can bend your right elbow, maybe not. Take an inhale here, exhale, we'll release that. Let your head rest on both palms stacked. Now bend your left leg, sole faces the ceiling. You'll reach back with your left hand, reaching for the front of your ankle or the front of your foot. You may or may not be able to reach it. If you can't reach it, it's totally fine. You're just going to work on that extension, reaching back. If you can reach it, you're going to pull your foot a little bit closer in. So toward your glutes. Maybe bending your left elbow, maybe not. One more inhale here. Exhale. Release. Palms stack. Head rest on your palms. Shake your hips side to side. And then you'll take your hands lined up under your shoulders. Press your way back up to hands and knees. You're going to shake your hips side to side like you're slowly wagging your tail. And then slowly press back into child's pose or balasana. Rest here for a few breaths. Come back up to hands and knees now. So we'll be here for a little while on hands and knees. You can use your blanket if you'd like to pad your knees. Take your right foot back now. Toes tucked under. Your left shin is still on the ground. Hands are lined up under your shoulders. Your elbows are soft, so make sure you're not locking out here. The left foot, the top of your left foot is facing your mat. Unless that's uncomfortable for your knee, sometimes it feels better to tuck those toes under, and that's okay too. The right toes are tucked under, and then you'll press back a few times through your heel, getting a stretch in your calf. You'll leave your right hand connected to the ground here. Again, keep that elbow soft. That just means a very slight bend. Inhale your left arm up toward the ceiling. So you're coming into a twist. Your left palm is facing the left. And then you'll exhale your hand back down. So heart faces down, belly faces down here. You'll take your right leg. You can leave your foot on the ground or you can lift your leg. If you've got your leg lifted, you want your heel level with your hips or lower. Toes point down, and the front of your hips, those two hip bones, are facing down. So I say that so you don't lift your right hip and stack it on top of your left. So hip points are facing down. And then also notice if you have a tendency to drop into your right hip, you want your hip bones level. And then you'll take your left fingertips forward. So arm is straight, and you're tenting your hand. So your palm is lifted, but fingertips are on the ground. And then we'll lift your left hand, thumb points toward the ceiling. Palm faces in. So left arm is lifted, right leg is lifted. Or you have the option of keeping toes and fingertips on the ground. So either variation. So finding this balance. We'll take an inhale here. As you exhale, you'll bend your elbow and knee, draw them toward each other. Navel draws in toward your spine. Right elbow is still soft. Inhale as you extend both arm and leg. Exhale, elbow and knee draw toward each other. Coming into some core work here. Inhale, extend. Exhale, elbow and knee toward each other. You can skip this part if you want. You can also rest if you need to. Inhale, extend one final time. You may stay right here. You may come out of this. You may start to bend your right knee so your foot faces the ceiling. You've got about a 90-degree bend here. And then reach back with your left hand to grab the top of your right foot. And maybe you don't reach your foot, and that's okay. Maybe you're just practicing on the actual reach, which is actually harder work than finding this bind. So if you do find the bind, if your hand is connected to the front of your foot, you'll press your foot back as your hand pulls forward, so you find a nice back bend here. This is Chakravarkasana. Take one more inhale here. As you exhale, release hand and knee down to your mat. Shake your hips side to side. We'll press back into child's pose again. Or you are welcome to rest on your belly. Take a few breaths. Notice how that work lingers in your body and how it leaves your mind. So we're starting to get into this balance. So this right body, left body work is a form of balance. And that was a literal balance where you're using one arm and one leg. All right, let's meet back at hands and knees. So elbows are shoulder width distance, elbows are too. Hands are shoulder width distance, elbows are as well, but elbows are soft. And then you'll take your left foot back, toes tucked under. You'll press your heel back a few times, just finding that calf stretch here. We'll leave your left hand grounded. Inhale, right arm up toward the ceiling, palm faces the right side, finding a twist here. And then exhale your hand back down to your mat. From here, you can keep toes grounded if that's where you are, or you can lift your foot up off your mat. The left foot, that is. I've got my left foot flexed, toes point down toward the mat, and then my hips are level, pointing down to face the mat. Heel is level with my hips. You can also take it a little bit lower if you want. You just don't want it higher. And then from here, you may take your right fingertips forward. So my right arm is straight forward, and then my fingertips are pressing into the mat. Hand is tentative, so my palm is lifted. I didn't say this on the other side, but gaze is down and slightly forward, so this keeps your neck in alignment with the rest of your spine. You may stay here. You may lift your right hand. Your thumb points toward the ceiling, palm faces inward. Finding this balance here. Notice if your hips are level. I just noticed my left hip was dropped a little bit, so make them level. We'll take an inhale here. As you exhale, bend your elbow and knee, draw them toward each other. Navel draws in toward your spine, a little bit of a crunch here. Inhale as you extend. You can join me in this core work or you can skip it. Left elbow is soft. Exhale, elbow and knee toward each other. Inhale, extend. Exhale one more time, elbow and knee toward each other. Inhale, extend. You may pause here in this balance. You may come out of this and rest. You may bend your left leg, sole of your foot faces the ceiling. Maybe you reach your right hand back to grab the front of your left foot. Or maybe you're just finding that reach. And then if you do find this bind, if your hand's connected to your foot, start to press your foot into your hand. As your hand pulls forward, find that back bend. We'll inhale as you release that. Exhale back to hands and knees. Shake your hips a little bit side to side. And then you can press back either to child's pose or to a kneeling position or your belly. Take a few breaths. You can roll your hands around your wrists. So my wrists are feeling sensitive today, and you may experience that. You can find some rotations here to loosen up your wrists. And then if you'd like, whether you're on the ground or kneeling here, you're going to take your middle finger and your thumb and wrap them around your wrist, right above that little bone that sticks out. So in between your hand and that bone, you're going to squeeze and then just pull forward a little bit, creating some space in your wrist. Release that. Pause. We'll do the other hand. So using your opposite middle finger and thumb, and circle your wrist here, right above that little bone that sticks out on the corner of your wrist. You'll start to squeeze and pull forward just a little bit. And release. For those of you who practice with me often, you know that you can rest at any time you need to. And I don't know if I've emphasized that enough in these 2 yoga and dark classes. You don't have to do anything that I tell you to do. You can rest on the ground the whole class if you need to. You can rest at any time throughout the class, and you can modify in any way that feels right for your body. So know that you have permission for that, and that your inner teacher is a better teacher than I am. So it's about finding this space to listen to your body, to listen to your gut, and to just trust that and have compassion for whatever is here. Let's come back up to hands and knees again. And then we'll tuck your toes under, press your hips up and back, come into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And in downward facing dog, your hands are about shoulder width distance, your feet are about hips distance. You want your ears lined up between your arms, between your biceps. If you find that your weight is further forward and your head is over your hands, I want you to bend your knees generously and then start to press your hips up and back. So you can hopefully find that alignment with your ears between your arms. If you need to keep your knees bent like this, that's totally fine. Once you're here, you may realize you can start to straighten a tiny bit, and that's fine. I almost always have a bend in my knees in downward facing dog. So know that your legs definitely don't have to be perfectly straight. We'll shake your head yes and no, releasing tension in your neck and shoulders. And then it often feels nice to walk your dog out so you can bend one leg a little more, opposite heel drops down, and then bend the other leg, opposite heel drops down. So kind of walking it out here. Take a big breath. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Inhale your gaze forward between your hands. As you exhale, you'll start to walk your feet forward. We'll find a standing forward fold here. Feet are hips distance, legs can be bent as much as you need. And this forward fold, which is also known as Uttanasana, it's more about a release for your low back, the way I teach it. It is, at least. Less about hamstring stretch. So if your hamstrings are really tight, bend your knees more, let your low back release. As you fold, you may realize that you can start to straighten a little bit, or you may not. We'll take your fingertips and try to connect them to the ground here. So you may need to bend your legs pretty generously to get to that point. Fingertips press into the ground, palms are lifted, so your hands are tented. If your palms are flat, I want you to go ahead and lift them. And then crown of your head draws down. Take a moment to feel the weight distribution between your feet and your fingertips. Take an inhale here as you root down. Exhale here as you root down. And on your next inhale, you'll lift your heels up off the ground. Fingertips and balls of your feet are still connected to the ground. On your exhale, you'll lower your heels. You can adjust placement of your fingertips if you need to. Under your shoulders is probably most ideal for balance. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift your heels. As I lift my heels, my knees bend a little bit more. I'm aiming to keep my hips pretty still, maybe in the same spot as I move. Exhale, lower. We'll do that 3 more times. Inhale as you lift your heels. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, lower. Do this one more time. We'll pause here. So this is where you have a choice. You may decide you want to drop your heels down if that helps you with your balance, or maybe you keep your heels lifted
And then we'll start to lift your fingertips up off the ground. Palms come to touch. You'll bring hands to your heart center as you lift your torso up halfway. So you're at a half forward fold here. My heels are lifted. My knees are pretty generously bent, which helps with the balance. Hands are touching at my heart center, so my hands are in a prayer pose. And then I'll sweep my hands forward as I lift my torso all the way up. Heels are still lifted. Fingertips reach for the ceiling. And maybe your heels are down, and that's okay too. And then you'll exhale, lower your heels, bring your palms to touch at your heart center. Anjali Mudra. This is where your hands are in a prayer pose at your heart center. And then notice how it feels to be standing further away from the earth. Notice your breath. Feel your connection to the earth through the soles of your feet. Release your hands here. On your next inhale, you'll lift your heels up. You'll take your arms straight forward, palms facing down as you lift them up halfway. So it's kind of like Frankenstein arms here. And then you'll exhale, lower your heels, sweep your hands back down next to your hips. Or maybe zombie arms. Inhale as you lift your heels, lift your hands up halfway. So hands are palms facing down, arms are parallel to the ground. Exhale, lower. We'll inhale, lift your heels up, lift your arms up halfway. You'll pause here at that halfway point. Draw your shoulders back a little bit so shoulder blades move toward each other. And then you'll inhale, sweep both hands up, palms turn to face inward. Fingertips reach for the ceiling, thumbs reach back behind you, a little bit of a back bend. On your exhale, bend your elbows out to the side, so 90-degree bend. Field goal arms. Inhale, palms up to touch overhead. Exhale, lower your heels, bring hands to touch at your heart center. Prayer pose. Take a breath here. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Your hands next to your hips. Inhale, lift your heels, lift your hands up halfway, palms facing down. Exhale, pause here at this halfway point. Draw your shoulders back. Then you'll rotate palms to face each other, so thumbs point up. Inhale, fingertips up toward the ceiling. Exhale, bend your elbows. We'll pause here with your elbows bent, shoulder blades squeezed together. Draw your low belly in. Crown of your head draws up toward the ceiling. You may tiptoe around a little bit like a ballerina, and that's okay. Sometimes that helps with balance. So just notice where your balance is. We'll inhale. You're going to bring your fingertips to touch overhead. So your hand is kind of in a star shape here. Elbows are soft or even bent generously if your shoulders feel really tight. So bringing your fingertips overhead is kind of adds an additional challenge to this balance. And then if you're able to see, you may even try closing your eyes and see how that affects your balance. And that usually makes it a lot harder, so just noticing. One more inhale here. Exhale, release your heels, release hands to your heart center. You'll inhale, sweep your arms forward and overhead. Heels stay on the ground this time. On your exhale, palms touch overhead. You'll start to bend your knees. Hands come through your heart center as you find a forward fold. Coming back into Uttanasana, we'll inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. That's a half forward fold. Exhale, release, fingertips press into the ground again. Again, bending your knees as much as you may need to get fingertips in the ground. We'll inhale, heels lift up off the ground. Exhale, lower. Inhale, heels lift up off the ground. Exhale, lower. Inhale, heels lift one more time. Take a breath here. And then you can drop your heels, or for a challenge, you can keep them lifted. Start to slowly lift your hands up off the ground as you lift your torso. Palms come to touch. You'll find that half forward fold, hands at your heart center, crown of your head draws forward. So you're kind of in the shape of a number 7 here with your legs a little bit bent or even generously bent. And then you'll extend your arms forward. Inhale as you lift your torso. Fingertips reach for the ceiling. Maybe, hopefully your heels are still lifted. It's totally fine if they're not. Exhale, lower your heels, lower hands to your heart center. Okay, release your hands. So we'll work on some standing balancing here. Let's take your hands to your hips. Feet are about hips distance apart here. And just take a moment to feel your connection to the earth. Notice how each foot feels. You may notice that weight is heavier in one foot than the other. So take a moment to acknowledge the weight distribution between your feet and along the sole of your foot. And then you'll begin to bend your right leg. So your toes are touching the ground here, but you've got a bend in your knee. Your heel is lifted. You'll rotate your knee out to the side and then bring your sole of your foot to the ankle of your left leg. Hands on your hips to begin. We're moving into tree pose, Vrikshasana. It helps to keep your left leg a little bit soft. You may stay right here with your toes on the ground. You may lift your foot up and bring it to your calf below your knee. You may use your hand to lift your leg up and bring your foot to the inside of your thigh. Make sure your foot is not pressing right into your knee. And to be honest, for me, I find it most challenging with my foot below my knee. Most practitioners think the more advanced variation is higher up. But I find that there's a little more core work involved in keeping your foot below your knee. I want you to keep your left hip really engaged. So notice if you sink into that hip, draw your hip in, and then keep your knee soft. You can keep your hands at your heart, you can keep your hands on your hips, or you can bring hands to your heart center. You may stay here. You may take your arms up toward the ceiling, part your hands here, take your arms to a Y shape. Fingers spread wide. This is tree pose. And then you can stay right here. You may fall out of it, and that's fine. Or maybe you find a little bit of a sway, letting your arms sway side to side like the branches of a tree swaying in the breeze. Take one more inhale. You'll extend fingertips up toward the ceiling. Exhale, release your foot. Release hands to your heart center. March it out a little bit. And then pause. Notice how each foot feels, or each side of your body feels. Really notice the connection of the soles of your feet to the ground. And then you can bring hands back to your hips. You'll take your left toes come to the ground, left knee bend, so your heel is lifting. And then you'll open your knee out to the side. Bring the sole of your left foot to the ankle of your right foot. And then you may stay right here. You may lift your foot up to where it comes to your calf, just below your knee. You may use your hand to bring your foot a little higher, connect it to your thigh. Again, just make sure your foot does not press right into your knee. And then right hip is active, so it's hugging in. You're not sinking into that hip here. Hands can stay on your hip. Hands can come to your heart center, to Anjali Mudra, this prayer pose. If you fall out, it's okay. This is a space to have fun. So balancing poses, you can have fun and enjoy laughing at yourself if your balance is off. And then maybe take your hands up toward the ceiling, separating your arms to where your in a Y shape here. And then maybe start to sway a little bit, so letting your arms sway side to side like a tree swaying in the breeze. Take one more inhale, reach up through your fingertips. As you exhale, release your foot, release hands to your heart center. Again, march it out a little bit. And then pause. Notice how each side feels. Notice your feet and their connection to the earth. Bring your palms to face your heart center. So you'll stack them on top of each other, palms facing in. And then take a big breath. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. And know that whatever your experience in this practice, in this moment, in life, it's all valid. It may be challenging, it may be uncomfortable, it may be joyous and sweet at the same time. We can't deny any of those experiences, though. It's all part of being human. So notice this energy at your heart center. Make space for love, self-love, and compassion. All right. Move back toward the ground. So we'll inhale, arms up overhead. Reach for the ceiling here. You might even turn your gaze up a little bit. On your exhale, hands come through your heart center. As they come to touch, you'll find a forward fold. And then you'll inhale, lift up halfway. You'll find that half forward fold, that figure 7. Feet are still completely on the ground here. On your exhale, plant your hands, make your way back to downward facing dog. Hands and knees is always fine too, as an alternative to down dog. Take an inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Inhale, knees down to your mat. We'll exhale, hips back to your heels. Pause for a breath or two in Balasana, child's pose. As you are ready, we'll find Shavasana, which is the final resting pose. Shavasana is also known as corpse pose. It's really just a space to come onto your back and surrender any control that you have over your body and over your breath. If your low back is uncomfortable, you can bend your knees, or you can roll your blanket up and slide it under your knees for a little bit of height. You're also welcome to come into a seated position if you would rather just come into a seated meditative pose. That's fine. And allow yourself to be supported by the earth. Sometimes Shavasana is my most favorite pose of the month, even. And sometimes it's more challenging. It's hard to let go. But I will say that if your mind is still busy, that's fine. Just allow yourself to watch whatever it is that's here. If there's fatigue in your body, that's fine. Just make space for whatever needs to be here in this moment. And feel the support of the ground beneath you, noticing all the points of your body that are touching your mat or the floor. Notice the feeling of the air on your skin. Notice any sounds in the space around you. And welcome those into this moment. And then feel the rhythm of your breath.
You are welcome to stay here as long as you need. If you are winding down for the evening, feel free to just go climb into bed. But if you are ready, you can start to find some movement in your body. Maybe roll to either side. And pressing your way back up to a comfortable seated position. If you're seated, you may bring hands to your heart center. If you are still reclined, maybe just bring your palms to touch your heart. So you may stack palms on your heart. You may bring palms to touch in a prayer pose. Bow your head down to your heart. And I honor all of your lightness and all of your darkness. I'm grateful to share this practice and this virtual space with you and to share your energy. And thank you for practicing. Thanks, y'all. I'm really grateful to share this practice with you. And if you enjoy it, if you appreciate it, feel free to share a donation with me and share with anyone you know who may benefit from this. Thank you so much.